Well, welcome in, everybody. Welcome to SEAL Team 7. Uh, my name is Stranger's Baby Seal. This is the first episode we've done in a while, but we have a lot to talk about. I am just back from Los Angeles, where I was live for the Summer Games Fest show and follow up event. So I was able to witness the Rebirth trailer within 80 feet of Jeff Keighley. I was able to scream in the audience surrounded by Activision people that could not care less about me and my weeb ways. And then I got to go play some Ever Crisis and then go to the Final Fantasy 16 event. So I'm still riding the high of that. I'm really excited. We're mostly going to be talking about Rebirth today, though. For a variety of reasons. One, the trailer came out. The Rebirth trailer came out. So I'm going to introduce my good friend Ray Coffman. The reason I have Ray on, why do I have Ray on as my first guest after the Rebirth trailer? After the Rebirth trailer was shown. Well, I'm going to let Ray first introduce himself briefly and then answer that question.
Well, if you don't know me, I'm Ray Coffman. I've got a YouTube channel where I talk about gaming and animation stuff, but mostly Final Fantasy VII theory crafting. I am a writer, animation director, plethora of other things here lately, and I'm too busy to do most of it. But I am here because of the love of Final Fantasy VII. Remake Saga is amazing, and I've been on the show. This is my fourth time on the show.
Yes, sir.
He's number 4. Yeah, the Quattro. I am the Quattro. So, am I saying why I'm on, or are you going to say why I'm on?
You say it.
All right. Well, we called it. We with all confidence. I say this on my channel all the time, people. Are you so sure that's one timeline? I'm not. I'm not in the developer's room. But if you're going to claim something, you claim it with confidence.
That's right.
And we can both claim with confidence. We are experiencing one altered timeline in this story. So that's why he had me back on. But before we even knew each other, I was like, as soon as I finished Remake, it's one timeline. As soon as he finished Remake, it's one timeline. We found each other through just randomly seeing each other's stuff, I think. And then we're like, we got to talk. So, and here we are.
And here we are. Here we are. Real quick, do you want to tell me about what you're working on?
Well, right now I'm working on a few things. I'm working on, we just finished the pilot for my animated series Aurora, which we're pitching around right now. Volumes 3, 4, and 5 are simultaneously in production right now of the graphic novels. So we're having all 3 of those out this year. Getting ready to start production on a feature-length animated feature, which is a gothic horror called The Last Sanctuary, which is based on a comic idea that I've had. We'll be Kickstarter for that in a month and a half. I'm also working on a Final Fantasy VII fan theory, fan story, animated, kind of like moving pictures kind of thing with Genova in the battle with the Ancients. And I'm hoping to have a trailer up for that soon. So that and a bunch of other stuff I can't talk about right now. So,
well, there you
go. That's
go.
what we're doing right now.
Well, thank you for being here. Well, let's see. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the trailer. So, tell me your reaction to the trailer.
Well, as soon as the trailer started, right, before I could go back and freeze frame and all that kind of stuff, as soon as it showed Barrett and Tifa and Red 13 and Aerith, like in my reaction video, live watching, they're dead. They're dead. Those characters are dead because it showed everybody's like, well, they're not in body bags. Well, they're not in body bags because the director wants you to see them. And when Tifa's arm falls off the gurney, that is artistic way of showing they are dead. There's no life in that body.
Yeah.
Right. So it showed that, and then we open up, we see Cloud and everybody. As soon as they came out, because I feel like they're walking out of Calm and they're heading toward the direction of the Chocobo Ranch at that point. Because between Calm and Midgar, it's the wasteland. And we see them approaching Calm in that very Stephen King type scene at the end of intermission when you see in the upper top third, Calm is up there, but it's very ominous, like this is where the story is going to happen, this is where a lot of things are going to happen. And then in the trailer, they open up into the broad world in front of them. And I was like, oh my God, the area between Calm and the Chocobo Ranch looks amazing. And so just watching the trailer, I was blown away the first time I watched it. And then, of course, there was a couple of like really quick things you recognize. Like, they're obviously, the Genoa battle's obviously on the ship between Junon and wherever that ship's going to go this time. Is it going to Costa del Sol? We don't know. Is it going to go somewhere else? We don't know, So that's obviously on the ship. Seeing the high wind in Junon was super dope. But more than anything, for me, it confirmed that it's one timeline. Like that Avalanche group is dead. And Avalanche group, I call it Gaia Prime, which is what the original Final Fantasy VII is. And I call Neo Gaia, which is what the new remade timeline is, basically. And when I say timeline, I'm just saying it in a way to make it easy for people. I'm not saying there's two, right? And some people challenged me the other day. It's like, well, if you're saying it's a remade timeline, there's multiple timelines. No. Stop thinking for a second and listen. That's what I have to tell people sometimes. It is one timeline. There are not multiple timelines playing with each other. Zack is running around in Neo Gaia on the heels of our party in Neo Gaia. It's all Neo Gaia now. But yeah, the trailer, I love. There was a character piece in the trailer, and it made me question what's up with Yuffie, because the character piece in the trailer, when she's like trying to get away from Cloud, and she's like, "Get it away from me." She's thinking what happened to Sona, because that's exactly what the powers coming out of Hero like, and it scared the shit out of her. And so she was like, "No! I've seen what this can do." That was a nice character bit they put in the trailer, and they didn't put it in there for no reason.
I agree.
They could have left that out.
Yeah.
Or leave audiences clues as to what's going on. There were little things in the trailer they could have left out, and they chose to put them in. Like, you never see Red 13 and Barrett fighting with Cloud, Aerith, and Tifa in the early stages of the game that you recognize early, because most players in the original, when the party parts ways in Midgar, who did you select? You selected Tifa and Aerith to come with you. Most people did. And Barrett and Red 13 went their own way. A lot of people did, though. A lot of people did. My numerous playthroughs, now I take Barrett with me a whole lot, but I'll usually leave Red 13 to go with Aerith or Red 13 to go with Barrett or something.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's an early party split, like in the game. And let's talk about the tattoo. All right? Let's talk about the Barrett tattoo not being their thing, right?
Well, yeah, let's talk about it. I will say that. I will say that the compression on the YouTube trailer did kind of erase it, but recent one upscales, and two, if you rip the PlayStation Store trailer, which has a higher compression, you can still see it. The tattoo's actually there.
Oh,
I know. I thought that was going to be interesting, so but yeah, but still, I mean, it doesn't really change much for us,
right, okay, all right, well, I'll save that then. It's not important, so
okay, well, I know I disappeared, but you should still be able to hear me. I think it'll improve your bandwidth a little bit. Some people in chat are saying that you're cutting out a little bit, so we'll try this. So okay, well, I had a lot of the same thoughts about the trailer. One of my favorite touches was the purple smoke, and then seeing Yuffie react to it, and it was such a real clear call back to the Sona and stuff, like you said. The other thing that's interesting about Yuffie is that Yuffie has a slightly different costume. Her costume has an extra belt, and there's some potentially interesting reasons for that. At the end of intermission, we don't see her, like when she's walking outside Midgar on the Chocobo. We don't see her having that belt, but We also don't know exactly when that is. We know that she leaves Midgar, the day after Platefall. So the Whisper Dome may not have exploded at that point yet, but it's very possible that the kind of butterfly effect of the Whisper Dome affected the way that Yuffie's overall appearances. And they actually announced 11 months ago. Nomura said that he was redesigning uh, Yuffie's outfit, and that was the first thing I thought. I was like, I wonder if what they're going to reveal is that Yuffie had a new outfit after the Whisper Dome explosion, and that the scene that we see at the end of intermission is in fact uh, her after Platefall and before the Whisper Dome explosion. So what this could show us is that and kind of, or at least it plants the seed of Terrier Yuffie being with the Beagle party. And so we'll we can kind of break down what we think specifically is happening with the timeline a little later, probably at the end of the hour before question time. But let me ask you then next, what was your thoughts on the after the initial scene where we see the dead bodies, we see the feather that's a little different than we normally see. We normally don't see a black feather with white tufts. We usually just see a black feather. But this feather was black with some white tufts. And then the doors open, and there's that white light, the same white light that we saw behind Zack when he opened the doors in the intermission ending. And then we see the open world, and I'm assuming that where that's leaving Calm and going towards the Chocobo farm. Like, that feeling washed over me when I saw that, and I was just blown away. I remember kind of getting real emotional in the theater when I saw that. What's your response to like the open feel of the game?
Well, I'm not surprised at all. Like for me, and more than anything, like because there was a lot of like chatter back and forth, people debating, oh, it's going to be linear, it's going to be this and that. For me, it was a relief. It's like finally we can put this to bed. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I had no doubt this thing was going to be big. I thought we would get huge, massive zones like that latest Star Ocean game. I was like, if they give us something slightly bigger than this Star Ocean, I'm
Mm-hmm.
totally happy with that. It looks like they're going above and beyond. It looks like we're going bigger than that. And they made a point to show the different locations, and there was one location where you're walking through a stream or a creek, and I was thinking to myself, is that Mount Ibel in the background? Like probably not, but because it's snow-capped mountains, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And I love that they showed how big the world is. It was like them
Mm-hmm.
saying, "Okay, we know y'all been talking about this. Here you go."
Yeah.
Um, I think it was just really awesome for them to do that for the fans. That was for the fans. I don't think they had to drop that trailer just yet, but I think they were like, let's go ahead and give them something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Plus, they led up to it. You called it when you said, "Are we going to get one diary entry a day and lead up to this?" And we did. So that was a good call on your part. But the showing how wide open everything was, and I love the music choice. It was a very peaceful
Yeah.
music choice for that part. It was just
Yeah.
kind of like background music,
Yeah.
just take this in. I loved how they did it, and like the similarity between Zack opening the doors and Cloud opening the doors. I think that was on purpose, but I think that was artistic choice.
Yeah.
I think it was just like showing like a sense of renewal.
Yeah.
Like when Cloud does it, it's like a sense of renewal. Like, and
Yeah.
then Aerith even says it. She goes, "Wow, the world is green. It's actually surviving before Red
Yeah.
13 falls off his line." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it felt fresh, it felt new, and it felt like they were just doing that. It's like, here you go, you can stop waiting. Here's a big, huge, open, lush world for you. Which also makes me think the time that we wait between this game and the next game will be significantly less as well, because I think the big challenge for this game was creating Gaia, and now they've probably done it. You
Yeah.
know, so all they'll have to do is write and program the scenario for the next game. So who knows at this point? But yeah, I love the way they did that.
Yeah, same. And if you go through the trailer, kind of, it does appear to be chronological. Like the events seem to, be from start to finish. And they made some very clear choices about like not showing some stuff, like not showing characters. Do you think that we're still going to see Sid and Vincent in maybe in the TGS game or the TGS show, trailer that we're probably very likely going to get, at Tokyo Game Show? Or do you think they're going to save that till the end, or do you think we might not make it to those characters?
Oh, we're definitely getting those characters. I mean, because we now know that this is 3 acts, right?
Mm-hmm.
It would be narrative aside to not introduce 2 of your most important characters midway through the second act. So I think we get them in this game. I think we get one of those characters in the TGS trailer. I think we might get Sid. I think they're going to wait on Vincent
Yeah, I think.
because
Yeah,
people forget when FF7 dropped in '97. I was there, man. I feel like the crazy conspiracy. I was there. Like people, it wasn't Cloud, it wasn't Tifa. Everybody's favorite character was Vincent effing Valentine. That was everybody's favorite character. That was the character everybody was drawing. That was the character everybody was into because it was the late '90s. Like the retro vampire movies were the thing, like Blade and all that.
yeah,
So
yeah.
like,
That's right.
but there was a real love affair with that character, and I think there still is.
Yeah,
So, and I think his combat is going to be bonkers. I think it's going to be absolutely bonkers. So TGS, I don't think we see. I think we might see a glimpse of it, or we might hear him. And a lot of people thought that person talking about the shadows of the man, the Sephiroth line, was Vincent. I think that's Rufus because it wouldn't make sense for Vincent to be talking like
oh
he was
no,
talking to Hojo.
so we actually have confirmation that was Rufus. Yeah.
Oh, we do have confirmation. Okay, I didn't
Yeah,
know that.
yeah.
All right,
So
I thought that was Rufus. So.
yeah, I know. Good call on that. I was kind of slow on the uptake on that one, but in the Japanese version of the trailer, the Japanese VA is extremely distinct and very famous, and so
Okay.
it was yeah, that was really clearly Rufus. He sounded different to me, and also, I was really tired when I first heard it, so it actually did take me a couple listens to understand. And then once you listen, like actually read what he says, it makes complete sense that he would know that. What do you think
He sounded
about?
awful.
Yeah, yeah, he did. So, and that kind of reminds me. So, he makes a point. Rufus is an interesting character in Remake and Rebirth. Uh, and how does he factor in? That's one of the questions that we get often on the one timeline theory is, if everybody in the Terrier timeline thinks that the party is dead because the Terrier party is dead, why is your party, the Beagle party that stepped out of the singularity and is now the only copy of the party, why do they think that they should be followed? Why is anybody trying to follow the party? And I think for me, there's always been that big question mark on why could Rufus see the whispers. What was that all about? It was clearly an unanswered question. The Ultimanias made it really clear that it was a noteworthy mystery. And so to me, it seems, like the most elegant solution to that problem, the way that this is supposed to, solve, the open-ended portion of the plot that leaves is anybody that had that sort of specific and interesting relationship with the Whispers is going to sense that there's something amiss in the Terrier timeline. They're going to doubt things like, the fates of characters that they believe might still be alive, etc. What are your thoughts on, the Rufus situation and the Turks following the party? As we do see that, Rude and Elena meet up with the party in the Mithril Mines.
I think everything I base my theories on. Of course, everybody sees things different ways. We all see the same thing, but we interpret it different ways. Correct. So I'm very understanding of that when people have disagreements with me about this stuff. But if the whispers circling around the party created one uh, divergence or one singularity, the whispers were also surrounding Shinra Tower for some reason, right? It didn't stop when the party left Shinra Tower. It was still going because Rufus was looking at it, and he's saying, "Are you not seeing this?" You know that by Tetsuya Nomura, he directed the first game. That was a very conscious decision
Yeah.
to have his character do that. Just like it was I'm not getting off on a different topic, but this was also a very conscious decision to not have Sephiroth look ignorant after Zack was shown to Aerith as about to survive his encounter. Like Sephiroth has a very confident look as he steps away to walk into the singularity. I don't think you do that. You don't make Sephiroth look ignorant there. I think he knows what's going on
Yeah.
with Zack.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's another point for another time. I think there was a separate singularity that, to some degree, kept the Shinra characters, or at least the Metal Gear Solid villain rogue lineup of characters at the end, intact to some degree.
Yeah.
Especially Rufus. I don't think you, at this point, as the writer, as the director, I would have a hard time changing Rufus. He had that great battle with Cloud. There's something interesting about the character, and I think if you're, you call it the Terrier Beagle timeline, it's the same thing I do.
Yeah.
I call it the Neo Gaia,
the remade
Gaia
timeline. Yeah,
we're the same thing, saying the same thing. Yeah.
The world created by remake. Yeah.
Yeah. The world created by Sephiroth's plot of remake, Final Fantasy VII remake, the remake world.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Rufus and that Shinra didn't change.
Mm.
I think they're looking at things. I think they're analyzing things like, what is going on? Something is different. I think Hojo is going to be like, yo, I got this data. This is fascinating. I can't wait to get out there and sink my teeth into all this crazy shit that's happening. And then Rufus is going to be like, Hojo. You need to explain everything to us. And there's that line where, Rufus is saying he's like, they have some association with Sephiroth. They're shadows of man. They put that in the trailer to make us think that they're talking about the party, but in essence, I think they're talking about the different versions of Sephiroth that keep popping up. Because it was one of those things that killed his dad. So, and also, if Shinra was unaffected by what happened and everything, wouldn't Rufus's dad still be alive? So I think Shinra, whatever happened in the singularity with the party, I think to some degree happened with Shinra as well. I think because the whispers were surrounding Shinra Tower, and I don't think that was for nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I could see that. And I think one of the powerful things about the vague way they've remade the timeline is that any similarities or differences that it had with what we consider to be the OG timeline can be written, right? So it can be as similar or dissimilar as the authors want, at any arbitrary moment. So it could be, that it's mostly the same, and then there's these bizarre divergences. And one of the last things that Katase said before the Rebirth trailer finally came out, I think he said this back in March, was that one of the things he's most excited about seeing is how people react to scenes that are the same and scenes that are different. And he didn't say scenes in one timeline and scenes in another. He said specifically, the implication, the unspoken premise of that statement is that some things are going to play out the same, some things are going to be different, and they created a world system where that is entirely permitted, within the structure of what's changed. And so they can say that Shinra, President is canonically his first name, by the way. We finally cracked the code on that. So Mr. Shinra, President Shinra can in fact still die, and I suspect that he will have died, and that maybe Rufus will have just at least retained some of the memories of the continuity that has been remade, and that will lead him to chase the party, for for curiosity's sake and because he's driven as a planet's actor. So I can definitely see that working really well. To me, territory, and we're now past the point of needing to explain it with anything. So yeah, I'm really excited. So like the places that we kind of know that we go based on the trailer are, we know we probably go to Com. We know we go to Com. We see Com. We know we go to the
Mhm.
Chocobo Ranch. We know we go to the Mithril Mine. We know that we're on the other side of the Mithril Mine too, and we know we go to Junon. Do you think? Do you think we skip Fort Condor?
Well, when they're running through those ruins,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and I think that's what's left of Fort Condor.
Interesting.
I think that's because if you look at the pace of the trailer and how we go through things in the trailer, I think well, say for because they just we're coming calm in the area between calm running around. We see Chocobo Ranch, and then we kind of see these ruins. That would be what's on the other side of the Mithril Mine. So that was just me spitballing, but I can't think of another area that would be, unless it's just a random area in the fields or whatever. But I think that's Fort Condor.
I think those ruins are on the calm side though.
Oh,
Based
what?
on the calm side of the Mithril Mines, based on the
Oh, you think
leveling.
so?
Yeah, and you can see the little bits of the ruins from the place heading up to the Chocobo farm. So I kind of think that like we might even see something that looks or at least is visually similar to Healing Lodge, because I think on that
Oh,
side,
yeah.
because remember how like green Healing Lodge was? From what we know
Hmm.
about what Healing Lodges or Cliffside Resort was what it was originally called, is it's on that side of Calm, like on the side of Calm towards the Chocobo Ranch, and so maybe we'll see little remnants of that too. Um,
And that's something that's interesting because, like, I've been hoping that they flesh out the world a little bit more. Like, we get some small villages here and there that weren't there in the original, even some like nomadic tribes traveling from here and there, because I think they all but confirmed we're going to have day and night cycles because the sun is in a different position whenever you're at different parts of the map in the trailer. Like there's morning, then there's like high noon, then there's like a dusk shot when they're outside of Junon.
yeah.
So that'll be interesting too. But I would love to see like nomadic tribes. I would love to see like Zangan like hanging out with like some nomads, you know?
Well, wouldn't we all? Yeah. That sounds great. So yeah, and one of the things I noticed in the trailer too that was really exciting to me is that even in just like what seemed like regular traversal moments, like you're walking up the steps, to the Chocobo farm area, and you're having a conversation. Cloud and Aerith are having a conversation, or when Aerith and Tifa are probably traveling together, they might be having that conversation about the truth of the Nibelheim incident, etc. And so I think that somehow finding a way to blend this feeling of extreme openness while still allowing traversal to be a place where you know conversations can occur and lore can be expanded and narrative can be pushed forward is only good for things. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, I envision like walking through a certain area, and this is part of the thing about the game that I've most been excited for is like a huge lore nerd, and like I'm a complete junkie for lore. Like, just if you walk to certain areas, and then they just start talking about that area and maybe something that happened in that area a long time ago, or things like that.
Yeah.
That'll then make those moments rewarding because there were some parts in Final Fantasy VII Remake that you travel down a path. There's like nothing to fight. There's no chat. There's nothing. It's very unrewarding. It's not even any chatter. It's
Yeah.
just like, wow, we went all this way, and now we got to go back the other way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. um Okay, well, we're making really good time on this already, so I do want to get to some of the meat of the trailer before we open up for questions. Um, the final portion of the trailer is really interesting. We get to see Genova again, and it's a She's got this similar iteration as she does in Remake, like the skeletal face. It's clearly in the boat. Some things of interest is that now, when Sephiroth is talking to us, in the trailer, in the Japanese trailer in particular, he's using Ore instead of Watashi. So it's Ore Sephiroth is now at play. So it's clear that whatever happened in the singularity to convert Watashi Sephiroth to Ore Sephiroth has followed the party, or maybe at least followed Cloud, which is really cool, really interesting. And then also, there was the little bombshell, that we see the second shot of the reunion clones, the second shot in the trailer, and there's a focus on one. You hear in Cloud's voice, reunion, and then you see it's Cloud's face and his hair. What are your thoughts? What is your takeaway on that? I know you released a video on this, but give us the TLDR.
That is the Cloud that Zack was dragging to Midgar when he survived. Like, case in point. Like, I feel like, in my opinion, Zack and Cloud were reacquired by Shinra. And we know that Hojo can mess with people's brains, and either Zack escapes Shinra during the Soulnado, the Shang Tsung Soulnado, he escapes during that. He's been rewired and put back, recommissioned by Shinra. And Cloud was in one of those little underground test facilities, and now that Cloud is gonna be a part of the reunion. Narratively, to me, it makes it a point to Cloud didn't link up with Avalanche in that world. That's why they failed. That's why Cloud failed. It takes all of them to save the world. It's not just Cloud swinging a Buster Sword around. It's not just Aerith being the last ancient. It's not just Barrett being the leader of Avalanche. And it's not just Tifa. It takes everybody. It takes the whole team to save the world. And if Cloud didn't link up with the team, no matter how Barrett linked up with Aerith and everything in, you call it the Terrier timeline, right? The Neo Gaia timeline. No matter how they linked up, it makes sense because Barrett was in the planetology Avalanche, so was Jesse. It makes sense that eventually they might have found out there was an ancient in Midgar. You roll with it until we know for sure, But to me, it speaks to, showing that everybody failed because they didn't come together.
Yeah.
That he's a hero. He's not a hero of the story. Cloud is.
Yeah.
And it takes the support of everybody. So even if Zack had linked up with that party, they still would have failed because it's Cloud's story. He's the hero. Now, I don't think Zack linked up with him. That's just one example. But so yeah, that's Cloud in the reunion. And I've got this whole theory on reunion. Cloud is the final boss fight of the game, but not that Cloud, like our Cloud. I
think our Cloud. I still think it's our Cloud that we fight at the end of the game. Yeah,
it's got to be our Cloud. It has to be our Cloud.
Yeah,
because our Cloud has to be completely broken.
Yeah,
right. And so yeah, like the whole thing with Ore Sephiroth and everything. Like, I feel like the Sephiroth who was speaking to Cloud the whole time in his mind, like, I want you to be stronger, come find me, that kind of thing. That's the Sephiroth you break out of planetary prison at the end of the game, inside of the singularity. He tricks you into breaking him out. So now he's complete, he's whole. That is the Sephiroth now that we are experiencing out in the world, I feel like. And but yeah, Cloud, that Cloud we see at the end is definitely Cloud, and it's the Cloud that Zack was dragging to Midgar with him. In my opinion.
So I have a slightly different read on what I think could happen, but really it could be either way. Like, there's nothing telling us anything at this point, but the way I've interpreted it is that that Terrier Cloud did join the party, but the remade world no longer has whispers. The whispers prevent everybody except for Cloud's death on the highway where we see the accident. So where we see the bodies in the beginning of the Rebirth trailer. I think Terrier Cloud succumbs to Sephiroth's will because all of his friends were killed. Because there's nothing preventing their death, and he's alone, and so I think that's why he becomes a reunion clone. Where is Zack? In my opinion, I think they will just write that Zack dropped Cloud off at the entrance and then was spirited away by Cisne or something. Or I think the most, the simplest answer is that he realized it would he's the number one target. He is Shinra's target number one, and that just him being in Midgar puts a target on both Cloud and Aerith's back. And I think he just left him there and then left Midgar and maybe came back when he heard that shit was going down and was finally worried about Aerith, which explains why in the intermission trailer, or the intermission ending, he is super cleaned up, and he knocks on the door, says, "I'm back." And, there's a church full of mourning kids, the kids that are mourning Aerith's death, who had just died in that horrendous tornado accident. Like, I think that maybe that could be a way, but it could also be something as wild as, like, Zack took the role of Cloud in the Terrier timeline. They all died, and now he's kind of forlorn and lost, and that would give him imperative to try and chase the party. And, I think we all kind of are assuming that, this has to have a payoff, right? So the fact that even if they're not in the same continuity, every version of this story I've heard, even the two timeline theory Max Dude style, is that somehow at the end, the narrative payoff is that they intersect somehow. And so to me, it seems like we're really probably going to see Zack, interface with the party at some point. When do you think that would happen? When do you think Zack and the party
I think
meet up?
at the end. But I'm glad that you said what you said about the Zack thing, because even though, because see, this is how I can tell you think like I think, because like the first thing I thought was, okay, 2 months have to have passed.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel that? How do you explain that 2 months with Zack? Because he's not just appearing once he comes back and then now it's this and that, right? The 2 months have to pass.
Yeah.
Before that happens, and that he's clone looking. Before we get there, time has to pass for this theory to work. But Zack meeting up with the party, I think you say that for the climax of the game. Like, I think it would be cool if Cloud gets separated from the party somehow, like approaching the northern crater area. And for that last chapter of the game, Zack has met up with the party, and he basically has Cloud's moveset because Cloud has Zack's moveset. It makes sense that you could just plug Cloud in for Zack and play through, and then you have Zack in your party for the final battle with Cloud for that game. I think that's how I've said from the start. That's how I would do it. So that's my opinion. What do you think, though? What's your take on that?
Well, I think we'll probably Laguna Cloud and or Laguna Zack and get an opportunity to play him. I think he'll play a little bit different, but enough. I think that Cloud will lead more into the the operator stance, whereas Cloud will kind of lean into this Punisher stance type thing, whereas Zack might play a little bit more aggressively. And one of the things that keeps bringing that to mind is the Ever Crisis gameplay. That I'm not sure if you got a chance to watch that at all. Yeah, so the Ever Crisis stuff, it hasn't actually been publicly released. Blitz filmed the entire thing while we were there, and we were told that we could post it, so he posted it. I'm not actually aware of any other footage of the entire Ever Crisis demo. But anyways,
I was saying that's why I haven't seen it, because I didn't know it was out.
I don't know. I promise you guys, We had Square people say it was okay. So go over to Bliss's channel and look at that footage if you want to know what we're talking about. But we see that like the intro sequence involves a team fight of against Sephiroth between Cloud and Zack, and it shows off their kind of different move sets and stuff like that. And it's really clear that the move sets that Zack has are not necessarily reminiscent of Crisis Core, but of something new, right? So I really feel like there's a really good shot of him being extremely playable in Rebirth, probably more than most people expect, and where I would say at least 51% of people want. But I think they'll they'll change
I
their
think we'll
mind on it.
absolutely play as Zack
Yeah,
a lot in the game. But as far
yeah.
as like when they meet up,
When they
like I
meet,
think it would. Yeah,
I still think the best time for Zack to meet the party is as the blade enters Aerith's back.
yeah.
Yeah, I still think that's the best time. Just a little too late, and I think it's one of the best things you can do for for Zack's character. To add a richness and a complexity, because I think as it stands, like I mean, there are several ways that you can complicate a character and you can make a character more interesting. But Remake took these fairly opaque characters and some semi transparent main characters and turned them into full characters, fully developed characters with arcs. Zack still has not got that treatment. I do not think Crisis Core was adequate in creating that level of characterization as Remake did for the main characters. And so I think the easiest way to do that, other than giving us time with him, because he's such he's just kind of a narc, like a converted narc, and so how do make this converted narc cop character, himbo narc character, interesting? And I think I hate to say that you torture him, but you torture him. And I think watching that will also create the the narrative focal point of the climax of the game, because it will pit Zack against Cloud, even if it's not necessarily like clear that Cloud is a puppet of Sephiroth. Who knows? Maybe Sephiroth shows Zack that it's Cloud that kills her. He's got the ability to be this mimetic manipulative monster. Like that's going to be the part I think that drives either Cloud to snap and become fully Genovified, or it'll be the thing that that causes Zack to attack the party. And so I think that's probably the best place to do that. What are your thoughts?
Well, I thought for a while that if if Zack is present for Aerith's death, and I think I did a video on. I've done a lot of videos, so forgive me if I can't remember exactly
No,
which
you're
one it
okay.
was. But like Zack being inadvertently responsible for Aerith getting the sword in the back. Like he's trying to do something right, and him intervening in a way or whatever. Because I think, well, here's what I think with the whole Aerith's death. Since we're on the subject, I think the directors and the writers are trying to redirect everybody's attention. This last trailer made me feel like Sephiroth is targeting Tifa this time, not Aerith, right? Because you remember the scene in OG where he descends out of the trees in the dream. He's like,
Mm-hmm.
that girl's going to be a problem, don't you think? When he's talking to Cloud in the dream when Aerith walks off to the Forgotten Capital.
Mm-hmm.
I got the same vibe when Aerith is talking to, or when Sephiroth's talking to Cloud at the end of the trailer. He says, "So I killed her. So
Yeah.
who is she?" Like
Yeah.
I got that same exact vibe, but this time it was directed at Tifa. Like
Yeah.
Sephiroth is obviously trying to drive a wedge. That's the one thing we know for sure
Yeah.
between the
Yeah.
first trailer we got
That was
when
and
me
that
and you
that was
talked about
actually
it.
going to be my next question. Is I was going to talk about that particular segment, and just for audience context, the final line of the trailer, that Ray just spoke. There was some confusion about who the she Sephiroth was referring to in the American and English trailer, but in Japanese trailer, Sephiroth straight up says, "I killed Tifa. So who is she?" Right, implying
Yeah.
that she might be an imposter. So yeah, I agree. So go on.
So like he's clearly trying to drive a wedge between even in the first Rebirth trailer that came out when they had the title announcement. It had that cool music,
Yeah,
and it was like all over the place. And I commented this sounded like the instruments were like battling against each other or whatever, you know.
right.
Um, yeah, like, I love that music. Anyway, but in that trailer, creating tension between Cloud and Tifa, right?
Yeah,
And this trailer hammers it home even farther. Like Sephiroth is playing on that. He's playing Cloud because I don't think he killed Tifa, but he's trying to drive a wedge between them. I think the directors are going to try to misdirect us. We're going to have a scene where Sephiroth is looks like he's gunning for Tifa, and everybody's like, "Oh my god!" And that's how they get us. They
hmm
kill Aerith. That's how they get us. And Zack inadvertently does something that gets Aerith killed instead of Tifa. And I don't know how I've gotten there yet. That's just
All right.
because this whole project, is because they want to surprise us, but still give us a remake of Final Fantasy VII. That's what
Right.
all this is about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they don't want us to go one for one, not be surprised, not be emotionally invested. They want to surprise us. I think the rest of this is going to play out like Final Fantasy VII rearranged, like a rearranged version of Final Fantasy
Yeah.
VII.
Yeah.
So they're going to
Final.
try to misdirect.
Yeah. Final Fantasy VII Stampede. Yeah.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Hey, shout out, shout out.
Yeah.
Trigun Stampede was amazing. I can't wait for season two.
Incredible adaptation. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think me and you talked about that via
Yeah.
message or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I loved it. I'm an OG Trigun fan.
Me
So,
too. Yeah.
but
Me
yeah,
too.
so like it's like putting Final Fantasy VII in a randomizer,
Right. Oh,
basically. You
yeah.
know,
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great way of saying it. I think that's a
I think
fantastic.
that's what they're doing. I really think that's all
Yeah.
they're doing, and they needed some big narrative feature
Yeah.
to make that happen. So, and now we're all just melting our brains thinking about it and explaining it and everything. And Square's sitting back and watching our videos, just giggling because they're like, "It worked! Thank God it worked!" You know, this is like amazing. It worked. You know, so kudos Square Enix. It
Yeah.
worked.
And I think that one thing that the event told me when I was at the Final Fantasy 16 event and at Summer Games Fest is it's easy to get discouraged when you look at, say, the vacuum of Twitter, where controversy will sometimes drive the extreme fringes of an opinion spectrum to the top of the conversation. That most people are just excited about whatever's going to happen, and they don't know what it is. They don't care, and they don't need to know. Not everybody needs to know, but they love talking about it. I love talking about it, and I think what they did with this trailer was really interesting. Obviously, I was caught in 4K saying very specifically that this trailer would start with a Shinra video of the dead party, that Stamp wouldn't be shown, and I even made a comment on that. During the same stream on the Yuffie belt. The Yuffie 11 months ago, the Yuffie redesign change being related to the Terrier Yuffie, etc. But I as exciting as all that was, and being able to talk to other people about that, the the mystery of it all is very engaging for the standard person. Some people feel betrayed, but I do think they are uh, kind of elevated by social media, and I don't think it's the main kind of takeaway in most social circles. And so
Well,
that
I
was
look at it
good.
this way
Yeah,
too. Even the people that feel let down and betrayed by this game, it's
yeah,
because they love Final Fantasy VII so much.
yeah.
It's not because they're hating or anything like that. It's because they love that game so much. And I told you before what that game means to me and what the story means and what it means to so many people. So when I see people that hate remake and hate what they did with it, I don't disregard their opinion. I'm just like,
Sure.
well, I
Yeah,
enjoyed it.
yeah,
I'm like,
yeah,
I don't like bomb on them for it. I'm not trying to
yeah.
dunk on them. I'm like, well, I enjoyed it. Here's why. But I
Right.
get your point. I get it.
Absolutely.
They
Yeah,
promised you a remake, and they did. So, I get it.
yeah.
But I like what they did because it's
Right,
challenging me. Because it's challenging me to think about what's going on as a
right.
storyteller. It's actually helping me grow as a storyteller, to be honest.
I
Because
I hear you.
it,
Yeah.
it your creative juice is flowing,
Mhm.
and you're using parts of your brain you don't normally use when you're just sitting in front of Netflix or whatever. Like I turn on my camera and I make theory videos.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
And
it's pretty awesome. And here's something else to think about
yeah.
before I forget this point.
Okay.
This is something I was mulling over in my head the other day. So when timeline reality is remade, I'll stop using that dirty word timeline. When reality is remade, right?
Yeah.
At the end, this is what I've been trying to put together in my head about Yuffie, and so maybe we can live brainstorm on this real quick.
Okay.
Uh, the audience. The end of intermission, I was convinced that the Yuffie we see on the Chocobo is like the remade timeline Yuffie
Yeah.
after Zack is saved and everything happens because she's got a totally different demeanor. She doesn't look like somebody who just went through hell, you
Sure.
know. But what if people who were remade, and this could apply to Rufus and other Shinra people too. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think it's going to apply to Rufus, but other people outside of the singularity or whatever.
Uh-huh.
What if they get echoes of their former self, like Yuffie? Like if that's remake Yuffie, if that's Gaia Neo Yuffie and not Gaia Prime Yuffie,
Mm-hmm.
but she gets like an echo of Gaia Prime Yuffie or Beagle Timeline Yuffie, and she's fearing what she's seeing but she doesn't know why
Yeah.
because she experienced where everything was. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. I do, and I think could be so cool. It could be like it could be something as simple as like Yuffie has no idea why she's so afraid of that purple smoke, but
Or
we
she's
do.
gripped with fear because of it.
Yeah, but we know why because of she's got this lingerance of a memory of what happened to Sonat. You know,
Exactly.
yeah, it could be
Exactly.
something like
I
that.
think there might be some of that playing around in that trailer too.
Yeah, I could definitely could see that happening. Um, so yeah, I hear you, and the point I was trying to make about the general consensus being really positive about the mysteries though is that what I think that means for us as consumers of this product is do not expect a change in tactics moving forward. Do not expect any trailer to explain anything succinctly. I
Oh no.
we feel pretty confident about this, and this really did like um, you know fulfill a lot of our head canon because that's all it is. Like none of us know for sure. We could be totally wrong. Um,
It,
but
it's on the table until it's not.
yeah, absolutely. But do not expect trailer 2 to do anything other than show off maybe one or two more characters and deepen the mystery. Don't expect any of this stuff to be answered by early 2024. And
Mm.
because this stuff, as much as it irritates, a certain portion of the fan base, is very successful at maintaining a conversation and creating, like this reciprocal internal response marketing that is generated by the fandom. So it's sort of a more is less kind of approach when keeping and driving the mystery. So as much as I know all of us want to see just like fucking stamp, like Show us which goddamn dog we're dealing with here. Don't expect that. I would definitely not expect that. Unless, one of us guesses it so succinctly that Nimura just gives up like he did with Strangers of Paradise. But that's neither here nor
Oh
there.
God.
Okay, so we'll end with this question. Um, we'll end with this question. From what you saw in the Rebirth trailer, what is the number one thing you are most excited to see in Rebirth? And then we'll open it up for questions.
The number one thing I'm most excited to see in Rebirth is how they handle and this didn't come from the trailer. I'll give you two answers. I'll give you
Okay.
one. I want the thing that the trailer showed that I know. So, number one thing I want to see is how they're going to handle debuting Vincent Valentine. He's going to be so important to this story.
Mm-hmm.
He is going to be omnipotently important to the story, as far as like someone who has understanding, someone who's read every book in that basement, someone who is infinite knowledge infused with chaos and all this other kind of stuff that we know about Vincent that we didn't know that the developers didn't even know in 97 that the character is developed to at this point. How are they going to show him off? I want to hear The Nightmare Begins. I want to hear all 5 versions of it: the slow version, the melancholy version, the fast up-tempo house music battle version, all the different variations they're going to do. And from the trailer, I want to see how deep Sephiroth's mind screwing on Cloud drives a wedge between Tifa and Cloud. I want to see the fights. I want to see the arguments. I want to see them having to go in one room and the other person go in one room. Barrett having to separate them. I want to see drama. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I want to see this affect the party. I want to see this affect who is in your team and party. Like character stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to see the Midgar Zolom.
Yeah. Midgar Zolam's gonna go hard.
I want that to be creepy. I want you to be hunted like until the boss battle begins. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I want that too. Okay, so my answer to that question is the thing that I was most excited to see, other than there's just the intro sequence for very personal, pedantic, and petty reasons. I did enjoy that.
Man.
I did enjoy
You
that.
want the power, dude.
But opening up the door and seeing that world, did fill me, with emotions and flooding. Like, I wanted to have that same feeling as when you first hit the map, in Midgar. But the one thing I thought that was so cool that we actually saw was Bugenhagen and Cosmo Canyon. Seeing the there's a couple things in that shot that were really interesting lore wise. One, they showed the projector, which was the Zeiss projector that we know was given to him by Professor Gast, and it had the same sort of kind of aesthetic look to it as the projectors did, the VR projectors in both the base game and, more importantly, in Intermission. But it looked like a prototype for that. There was one thing that was really interesting to me about the one shot we saw of the observatory getting fired up. At the base of that was a clock. It was an hour hand.
Oh,
so
yeah.
there's so we are going to get some kind of, so there's going to be an info dump there. I'm excited for it. I don't think it's going to be as clear as people are hoping. And you actually brought up something that I think is really, really a good parallel, and that's that Bugenhagen is going to be the info dump for the party. Hojo is going to be the info dump for Shinra. Hojo is Bugenhagen for Shinra. And so I think we're going to get a lot of really interesting moments out of those two characters in, exploring the mystery. Personally, I'm pretty excited for
Those were
that.
the most exciting moments of the trailer. was when we saw Bugenhagen. I was like, oh my God, they're
Yeah.
going to go ahead and show him. You know
I
what I
couldn't
mean?
believe
Like,
it. Yeah.
holy hell.
Yeah.
I was surprised because, like, I did a video a couple of years ago strictly on Bugenhagen and how important he is going to be for the party to understand what's going on in Rebirth and for the player to understand what's going on in Rebirth. Because I think he's going to have a better working knowledge of what's happening outside of someone like a Sephiroth or whatever, like a top tier character. But yeah, Hojo will be the other side of the coin for
Yeah.
Bugenhagen. And how will it be when you go to the Geek Caves? I think Bugenhagen's going to be a guest character in your party
Oh, that'd
when
be
you're going through
cool.
the Geek. Yeah,
I
man,
would be
just
really
firing off
cool with
some
that.
badass spells.
Yeah. Hell yeah. I like that idea. Um, okay. Well, guys, we made it to an hour already, so it's time for your questions. Please highlight your questions or tag me so that I can see them. And I'm sure you've got them all ready to fire off. Stinky Duck right off the bat, guys. Today I rewatched Yoshi P's keynote for Final Fantasy 16, especially the part where he presents a special message from Kitase-san. Kitase said that he had faith that this FF16 direction will be fresh and exciting for FF. My question, with 8 to 9 months to go, how do you think 16's success will impact Rebirth, if at all? I think it was intentional that Yoshi P and SE spent time to mention both FF titles on the horizon. Well, Ray, from your marketing experience, how do you think?
I think they're going to take. I think they're going to take into consideration what 16 has done well with their marketing, and what they haven't done so great. I think the trailers have been great, but the trailers have been targeted at people who love Final Fantasy, which is awesome. That's awesome, you know. But if you want to get that broad scope, you want to get a lot of those pre-orders from people that play, like, just other stuff that don't necessarily play Final Fantasy. You want to do the character trailers. You want to do basically a little bit more deep dive into the characters. I think with Final Fantasy VII that comes in spades because fortunately the world pretty much knows the main characters of Final Fantasy VII because it's been around since '97. But I think what they did with the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth marketing was a masterclass because no one had tried to pull off something like that before. Like they just did the little, Photoshop template JPEGs that they put on Twitter each day, and then that got hyped so out of control. I think they proved that they can do anything marketing wise with this game and it's
Yeah.
going to work.
Yeah.
They can't. 16 and other games like that are going to have to work a little bit harder with their marketing and that's not a podium moment. That's not me championing one thing over the other. It's just the fact of the matter. When you've got like a new Star Wars movie's coming out, regardless of how you feel about those Star Wars movies, you don't really even have to market that thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's coming out, a couple quick trailers, space battle, lightsabers, blah blah blah. Final Fantasy VII, you just have to show Sephiroth on the screen walking with Cloud like in that first trailer, and you set the internet on fire with hype. That first trailer didn't show jack. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It showed how big Nibelheim is because you could see the map marker.
Yeah.
They don't have to put much thought into this marketing at all. Just keep being smart with the mystery stuff, like you were saying.
Yeah.
That's all the marketing. Because see, the marketing for 7 Remake Saga is very different than other games. Like with 16, you have to introduce the world. You have to talk about the characters. You have to, keep doing the badass trailers you've been doing from a marketing standpoint, and you have to get it in stores, on posters, in front of people's faces, everywhere you go. Final Fantasy VII Remake, you don't have to do that. The Remake Saga, you don't have to do that stuff. So,
you certainly have to do less. Yeah. Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
Oh, we're losing you a little bit there, Ray. Okay, there you are. So my answer is essentially the same. And in fact, I think the smartest thing they did was have Summer Games Fest main showcase, show off Rebirth. It created all this buzz for Final Fantasy, and then the Final Fantasy 16 event was close nearby, and I have never seen a bigger 180 on a title than Final Fantasy 16. As of today, like its pre-orders have essentially doubled. We're seeing every major content creators, like all the big names, are saying this is how you do a demo. This is the greatest demo that's ever been made. I've seen several people who were very initially skeptical, like several huge names who were skeptical on 16 now, saying that they're going to devote their whole life to it. And I think part of it was bringing this big eye towards Final Fantasy as a franchise with a Rebirth trailer that did not quit from beginning to end. The Rebirth trailer was a masterpiece in my mind. It did not quit. There was no bigger energy in the entire room at the audience at Summer Games Fest, and that was mostly with a bunch of American devs, and people were really excited about. People were more excited about Rebirth than they were about Mortal Kombat or Nicolas Cage. Like it was this huge moment, and people were really like stoked. And so all of a sudden, like, okay, I'm jonesing for Final Fantasy. What's available? Oh, this demo for Final Fantasy 16. And now Final Fantasy 16 has like Game of the Year vibes now that people have played the demo. So I think this was a brilliant move for marketing both. And I think that people will, have a good experience with 16 and be excited for the next thing. And it's only 9 months around the corner. So I think this is going to usher in a new era of Square, and I think that's why the CEO was so excited. That, and you got to take a picture with me.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead, finish your thought. I'm sorry, I thought you were done.
Oh no, I said, that, and he got to take a picture with me. There's a picture of me with the new Square
that's
CEO.
Awesome, dude.
Yeah,
that's awesome, man. A hell of a time out in California. That's awesome, dude.
We did.
Where do you live in California?
I do.
Like, the thing that really set me up, like, and that really made my heart smile, dude, is like I have been publicly vocal for a couple of years now about the Game Awards, just really not giving respect to JRPGs. And I know people don't like that term. When I say JRPG, it is a moniker of excellence. That is the best role-playing game on the planet in my eyes. So if I say it, it's nothing but a huge compliment. Mm-hmm. Like, that is the game I want to play. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I have been like, the Game Awards, Jeff Keighley, I don't know what it is, man. They don't give proper respects to our JRPGs and stuff like that. I loved how Keighley set that up.
Yeah.
And he made it feel special. He made it feel like this was the thing the world was waiting to see. And then he goes, the rumors were true. I instantly just blew. I was like, oh my God, they were, and I love the way he set that up. It was brilliant. And also what I love about the 16 dev team and the 7 Remake Saga dev team working together, you get a lot of this stuff on Twitter. I know you all see it. It's a point of aggravation for me sometimes.
Yeah.
That they're like, oh, CPU3, oh, they hate this team. No.
They love each other. Yeah.
They love each other. And they work off of each other. They feed off of each other. They're brothers and sisters in arms over there.
Yeah. They're the gander. And
talking that smack, disregard.
Yeah.
Because it's like tabloid Twitter. Don't listen to that stuff. These people love each other.
Yeah.
They work together. If they're calling each other out, it's because they want each other to be better.
Yeah.
Like when they were talking, when the 16 dev team was talking about the 15 story shortcomings, that's nothing we didn't know.
Yeah.
They're saying that because they're like, hey, I know you can do a better job. I want to see you do a better job next time. Let's go.
Yeah.
That's why they say things like that. They're pumping each other up. They're not dogging each other. So when I saw that stuff about the cross promotion and helping out, all that kind of stuff, I was like, this is what I'm talking about. This is what I wanted the world to see, because people like us know it. You know what I mean? They have the ability to kind of like read between the lines and stuff, but to see it come out like that, that's what we need more of, man. I love seeing that. I'm a Square Enix fan. Do they always hit it out of the park? No. I'll always be 100%, but my heart is with that company, like in other companies like Capcom. I love Capcom. They're going to lay some eggs. They're going to make some stinkers. But I know what that company is capable of. I know what that company has given me in my lifetime. I wouldn't be a storyteller if it wasn't for these companies. You know, I owe them that. So when I see people saying, "Oh, they're coming at each other with daggers," I'm like, "No, they're not. Don't believe that stuff." So
Mm-hmm.
when I see that stuff, that makes my heart smile, man. That's good stuff.
Yeah, I hear you. So okay, we should probably get to the theory stuff because that's what people really want.
Right.
And so I will just really quickly. So we do have a question from DeVary. Quick question: what do people mean by the Beagle and Terrier timeline? Specifically, where are they named after dog breeds? So it's about Stamp, the breed of the dog Stamp. In Remake, you see about 387 instances of this dog, which is the Shinra mascot. And mysteriously, at the end of the game, in now in this continuity where Zack is seemingly alive and he survived, that dog breed has changed. He's no longer a beagle, but is instead a terrier, showing that something has changed in regards to the continuity. We learn later from Toriyama that the dog was actually drawn by Palmer when funding to the Shinra space program was cut. So, what we can say about the remade timeline is that for some reason, when Palmer was drawing that dog, he decided to choose a happier dog breed than a beagle. So you could say, hey, maybe it wasn't cut. Who knows? But that's what we talk about. It's a highly talked about point. The Ultimania mentions that it's really important that the dog breed was like beaten into us hundreds of times over. There's a chapter named after the dog. There's several posters. It's got its own theme song, so it's obviously a really important plot point of Remake. And so to make a change to something so overtly and ham-fistedly thrown in our face obviously has some kind of significance. And the devs have confirmed that the change in the dog breed is significant. So that's just the answer to that. But let's see. Theory question: why are the Turks following the party if Shinra reports their deaths? Without ever knowing the order of events, anything could happen. But were they spotted? Was it actually propaganda? We talked about it a little bit earlier, but my personal take is that they could have easily been spotted in Calm, and that could have been really weird because it's Calm was rebuilt by Shinra after it was destroyed in a missile strike. So it's already been rebuilt by Shinra. So it's not unlikely that Shinra's got eyes there. So that's a possibility. Two, we know that there's some connection to the Whispers by Rufus. And so Rufus could have an imperative as the leader of Shinra, as the leader of the Turks, to question the events. To question the events of the death because he had that bizarre connection to the Whispers. He could see flashes of the supposedly faded timeline, and it could give him the imperative to send the Turks. What are your thoughts, Ray?
I think they're just spotted and calm.
It's pretty easy.
Isn't it kind of discussed in Dirge of Cerberus that Shinra has eyes all over, like where it's so close to Midgar, like it's kind of like almost like a Shinra outpost or something like that.
Yeah,
When Deep Ground
basically, yeah.
invades, like under protection of Shinra or something like that.
Yeah, and in Before Crisis, they destroy Calm, and Shinra covers it up by rebuilding it. So if Shinra built
Same way
it,
they covered up Needle.
yeah. So
It gets plus. You're right. There is going on with Rufus. They plant that there on purpose, but I don't think he senses the party out there. I think they're just spotted.
Mm-hmm. So here's a question I keep getting all over the place, and I promised I would answer. Hey guys, sorry I missed the first hours. I was wondering if timeline merge, which is a theory I find interesting but don't subscribe to entirely yet. How do we explain the fact that the party exit the singularity, Midgar is intact without any smoke? because the last scene of Remake could not be that far away from the sequences shown in the SGF trailer. Curious about my thoughts about that. I'll let you take that one first if you want.
There's a couple of different ways you can explain that. So, like, the complicated roundabout way that I don't subscribe to, but my brain put together first was, there's like a diffusion period, like when they come out of the singularity, like time overlap, time lapsing, world being remade. That's one possible theory. Another possible thing is that the time passage, right? So we don't know how long it takes Shinra to put that fire and stuff like that out.
Right.
And we don't know how long, like, them coming out of this temporal disturbance takes. Like,
Yeah.
if you think of, like, being caught in like a vacuum, like a black hole, like a real singularity, time does not pass the same. You know what I mean? So, like, if they could be in there for what the outside world sees as like an hour, but they could have been in there for like a year. We don't know.
Right.
So when they come out of the singularity, I think that stuff has already been dealt with, and they're coming out. That's just a quick way to explain it. But I think that's a harder one to explain. But I think there's so much evidence, like, putting all this stuff together as one timeline, and they're trying to misdirect everybody. I think it's a slam dunk. What do you think, though?
I think it's very easy to write a solution to the problem. Like, they were in the singularity for an extra day. We have no idea how long they were actually in there. It could come out 2 days later, and it's fine. So that's one possibility. The other thing is that I know people are like, oh, they're so meticulous about every detail. I'll tell you where they're not meticulous about details. Midgar. The Midgar model is so inconsistent throughout the entire game. Plates are aligned wrong several times. It's rotated wrong a few times. There is a different Midgar model during the Zack scenes. There's asset issues between Visual Works, which is the company that makes the CGI stuff, and then the actual Unreal assets. There's a bunch of inconsistency between there, so much so that it makes a lot of the stuff feel a little bit meaningless and unfun. I will say, though, one thing about Midgar that my mind is changed on a little bit is that for a very long time people looked at the model of Midgar during the Zack survival scene, during the Zack Last Stand scene and remake, and it does look different. It looks different than the Midgar we've seen from there. Like, the reactors are different; they're boxier. No matter how you slice it, it just looks different and it looks weird. And I have never taken that seriously as anything other than asset management stuff. However, in the Rebirth trailer, in the fight where he is toggling the wolves, where Cloud is toggling the wolves with the coolest fucking combo I've ever seen, which is making me just not uncontrollably for this fucking game. During that scene, there is a shot of Midgar in the distance. And it is the exact same Midgar model as the weird altered Terrier Midgar model. So it actually made me think, oh shit, what if some of those theories were actually right about, like, a slightly different Midgar design? But again, it's so inconsistent. Asset pools are so inconsistent that I'm not super concerned about it. I'm also going to say that we were wandering around Midgar a day after Platefall, or the same day as Platefall, and wide shots of Midgar were not extremely inclusive of smoke or anything like that either. If there's one thing they don't super handle well enough to make any kind of concerted plot points, it is the assets of Midgar, and I feel super confident about that.
Right. And if that is all rendered in game, like that whole thing at the beginning of the new thing, that was a CG scene.
Yeah.
That was not in game.
Yeah.
But
that was actually maybe the only CG we saw.
That was it.
Yeah.
And like everything else in game. So if it's in game, they may not have the smoke billowing off of Midgar, they may just be like, yeah, whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I needed to answer that question. I'm actually going to scroll up for some other questions I skipped by just because. Um, so, uh, can please explain why Seth Genova would need new two timelines? I've asked many two timeline theorists and never an answer. I'm a one timeline guy because it makes narrative sense for Sephiroth Genova. We might not be the people to ask for that on account of us both being one timeline guys. So for
Doesn't make
that,
sense, does he?
yeah. So we also kind of answered this a little bit earlier, but considering everything that leads up to this from the Pixel Pit Gaming, everything that leads up to the party on the expressway, how does Terrier Party make it there without Terrier Cloud? I actually think Terrier Cloud is with them, and them dying is what causes him to go full reunion. But Ray had a different take, which was that maybe Zack was with them, right?
Well, either Zach is with them and they fail, which I don't subscribe to as much. I think it's more of an issue
They,
of Barrett is leading the party
mm,
and he finds out about Aerith and they link up without Cloud, basically. And
mm-hmm.
because, if you think about it, Barrett is a planetologist. That's why he got into Avalanche, studying the planet and everything. Jesse's in the planetary study. And if they dig into Shinra enough, they're going to find out about Aerith. So they link up with Aerith in some way. Marlene is still, because here's the important thing to remember: Marlene is still at Aerith's house at the end of the game. At the end of the game, I did a video on this. At the end of the game, Marlene at Aerith's house, she looks at the flower, she says, "Daddy." She's feeling Barrett return to the planet. We didn't understand that then, but now we know because her Barrett is dead. Like, she
Mm.
felt him go back to the planet at that point. And then Barrett, of course, reaches out, and it's the Barrett from the Prime
Holy
timeline who
shit. That's
is
awesome.
now, yeah, that's
Yeah.
her feeling Barrett returned to the planet. That's why I was like, he's dead. He's dead. He died. He went back to the planet. Because
Damn. That's good.
Aerith's house and where she lives, I
Yeah.
think, is some kind of spiritual portal. Because, like, Aerith was a little girl in that house when she was like, your husband came to say he's sorry,
Right.
but he's going back to the.
Yeah.
It
And
happened
in
there. So it happened to Marlene.
and in Traces of Two Paths, she talks to her mother there several times. She
Yeah,
talks
yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
Afalna, yeah.
So,
So yeah.
but yeah, so like, I think there's a way that you could explain that Barrett and the party hook up with Aerith, and then they end up on the expressway, but without Cloud. That's the important thing. It's without Cloud. And whatever they're dealing with, whether it's just they're fighting Motorball or Sephiroth, I don't think they're fighting Sephiroth at that point, unless Sephiroth is there to kill Aerith.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that's what's going on. I think they're just killed in the explosion there.
Yeah.
But why they're there, I don't know. But I think that's one way they could get there. If that answers your question. The other thing, I don't think it's Zack or Cloud with them. I think Cloud is in an underground facility, and I think Zack is either reacquired or, like you said, he's been spirited away by Cissnei or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I have been under the impression that as the game remake is going along, time is slowly changing throughout the game because the story about Wutai slightly changes as you go through the game. The war's over, then all of a sudden, it's just, we don't know if the war's over or not. Then Cloud's like, well, it's just a ceasefire. Basically, the war is still going on though. So that story changes throughout the game. And by the time Plate falls and you're underground in the G specimen facility fighting the unknown entity, the whispers keep you out of that room with the tubes. Why?
Yeah.
I think either Cloud or Zack is in there. I think the timelines are already starting to merge at that point.
Interesting. That's interesting.
But
I'll
that's just the out there thing.
I'll,
So
I'll cogitate upon that one. That's interesting. Piggles the pup. Seth doesn't seem to be denying Cloud was at Nibelheim, but confirming it instead. How do you see that impacting Cloud's identity crisis? Well, I mean, it seems really clear that Seth is doing everything in his power to amplify the crisis inside of Cloud. The Cloud has always been Sephiroth's endgame. In my opinion, I think that's been clear since you beat Top Secrets in Remake, and you hear that Chadley sees in Cloud infinite potential that was so strong that it broke him from his chains. It broke him from his programming, from Hojo's programming. For those of you that didn't beat Top Secrets, Top Secrets is the only like secret boss in base Remake, and it's the only optional cutscene in the game, and it seems like humor, but it's really important. You find out that Chadley is indeed a cyborg, not an android. So that means he's made of real boy parts just to be as creepy as fucking possible. And he was made, by Hojo, and that Cloud's unique infinite potential is what broke him of his programming. And then it becomes clear at the edge of creation, that's what Sephiroth wants, is something from Cloud. And so Cloud being broken free from the things that give him any of his own agency, things that give him strength, things that allow him to rise up to become the thing that defeats Sephiroth. The crux of Remake being the live stream scene where he is actualized and becomes the real Cloud. Things that get in the way of that are extremely beneficial to Sephiroth and his endgame. So we're going to see him doing as much as he can. He first things first, destroy the Whispers so that the Whispers cannot prevent him from learning the truth early. Get in between him and Tifa. Gaslight him into thinking that Tifa is an imposter. Because Tifa is the one that saves him in the live stream. And so why is it important that Zack survives? Well, in the long run, because now they need even more help against Sephiroth. Sephiroth now has much more of an advantage, so I think those are all meant to kind of tie each other together. What do you think, Ray? And then we'll do one more.
I think you're spot on, and I'll keep mine short, but Sephiroth literally tells Cloud, and this is a literal moment in a game where it's all a lot of his picture together message. He says, "Let's defy destiny together." He literally says it. We're going to do this together. And also another point on the Tifa thing. You remember the marketing for Remake when a lot of the trailers had Tifa and Cloud reaching for each other, saving each other, that kind of thing. Harkens back
That's
to
a good point.
Harkens back to the Northern Crater at the end of the original game where they're reaching out and they're grabbing each other. She pulls them out of the live stream again. I think we're going to see stuff with them being pulled apart in the marketing for Rebirth. I think there's a clear message there, and I said that when Remake's trailers were coming out. They're making a point to show Cloud and Tifa, hey, we're in this together. I got you. In this game, we're going to see them pulled apart, and that's exactly what they're doing. So I love the direction they're going with all that.
Let's go Sox 2015, and this will be the last question. Do you think Cloud dies at any point in the trilogy since he is basically Sephiroth's Horcrux? My answer to that is which Cloud? Ha! I don't think Cloud will die. I know that's a wild swing. I do not think Cloud will die. I think he's the hero of the story, and I think they're still gonna find a way to make some variant of Advent Children Cloud smiles on the way to a smile. Canonically accurate. That's my personal take. What are your thoughts? And then we'll call it a day.
I think that the closest Cloud will come to dying will be, well, his Neo Gaia Terrier reality version. We're gonna see something horrible happen to that guy.
Yeah,
Like,
he's gonna be all fucked up.
something very G-virus is going to
Yeah,
happen to that guy.
yeah,
But our Cloud, I think it would perverse the whole story of becoming broken, giving into your demons, and relying on those around you to pull you out and show you the person you're meant to be, a person of infinite potential, and slaying the demon and being the shining light for the world. I think it perverts that for him to die. And I think they're going to find out a way to completely and utterly destroy Sephiroth and Genova this time. I think that is the point of this being the final part of the compilation. Because, make no bones about it. This is, I don't like to call it a sequel, but it is a part of the compilation, and this is going to be the final part. So there's no take backs after this. So I think this is the end of the
yeah,
story completely. Whether you subscribe like what I do, cyclical time loops, or you believe in multiple timeline, whatever you believe in, I think we can all agree this needs to be the end of the story. And no redemption for Sephiroth. He is the villain. His victims have faces. It's not like Darth Vader blow planet. It's
yeah,
like he bragged on how he killed Cloud's mother. It's like Magneto said in X-Men First Class. He's like, you make a lot of great points, but you killed my mother. It's
yeah.
that Sephiroth has to go. He is evil. He's a bastard. But that's why we love him. I
That's
don't want to
right.
see him redeemed.
Yeah,
So
no,
he
fuck
has
that.
to end. And I think him
Yeah,
getting his ultimate comeuppance is the only
agreed.
way to honor the character of Sephiroth and to honor the character of Cloud is the definitive end. And I think that's what we get this time around. Cloud lives.
Preach, brother. Preach. Okay. Well, hey, thank you so much for that. And thank you very much, Ray. We look forward to seeing more stuff from you. And to everybody that joined us live, thank you so much for being a participant, for all the great questions in there. Sorry we couldn't get to all of them. But once again, Ray, love you, brother. Thank you so much for being here. Knew I had to have you back, especially after that Rebirth trailer. So,
Yeah. He
yeah.
messaged me. He messaged me immediately. He was like, "Yo," I was like, "I saw it. I saw it."
I love it.
So,
I love
thanks
it.
for having me on, man. Thanks, community. Appreciate you all. Love y'all. All the content creators. What you're doing here is important and awesome as always, man. Thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure and a privilege.
You bet. And with that, we are ending this